So there's a lot of confusion out there about eating fruit, and if you're working as a health, fitness, or a wellness professional, you're probably going to hear from clients that are telling you that they're hearing good things about eating fruit, and they're also hearing bad things about eating fruit. So in this video, I'm going to help you understand how some of that good and some of the bad can really vary from client to client, and even why some clients will see improvement to their digestive symptoms when they eat fruit, and some clients will see those symptoms magnify. Let's jump in.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So one interesting thing about fruit is that you're going to see a lot of camps that are just really for eating fruit and some that are really against it. So we're going to try not to stay too psycho in either direction and kind of give you some real pros and cons here to understand. And when we're looking at this, eating fruit thing, one thing we need to understand is the factors that have to deal with fructose. Fructose is in fruit and it kind of metabolizes a little bit differently. It metabolizes more in the liver. And for someone who's having a hard time processing, normal starches or glucose or sugars and those kinds of things, they will sometimes do better with fructose. And so consuming fruit might help them feel better. It might energize them a little bit more because they'll be able to process that a little bit easier. But if someone's having major liver problems and the liver is really overwhelmed and not functioning really well, then they may have a harder time processing this fructose. But one thing we want to understand is that a byproduct of this bringing in this fructose and processing that can be uric acid. And uric acid going too high in the body has the ability to create a wide variety of significant health issues. And people don't seem to be paying attention to this enough. So uric acid can be a big factor. It even has the ability to create insulin resistance when uric acid goes too high, and we know the troubles that can come from that. Here's the situation that we need to understand. When uric acid is really going high from fructose, it's usually from high fructose corn syrup that's in pretty much everything that's a processed food. You can't even buy new running shoes without them having high fructose corn syrup in the ingredients. It's everywhere. So when we're thinking about, is fructose going to be a problem for someone and make their uric acid go too high, we really want to look at their diet. If a client is eating out of a vending machine and they're having toaster pastries for breakfast and all this processed junk, they're getting a lot of this high fructose corn syrup, and it says it right there in the name. It's high fructose. So the fructose levels in this processed junk is extremely high. It's nothing compared to what you're going to get from an apple. This is a significant amount of fructose. So if someone's eating in this way, they're really providing a burden to the body. And now this has the ability to send that fructose very high. So now they go and have some fruit, and now they're just piling on to this burden that the body is already dealing with. So in that scenario, fruit is not going to be as helpful as they may think unless it's letting them put down some corn chips. So I'm going to eat this apple instead of the corn chips. So that could be one benefit, but you're really not getting the benefits if you're really eating this junk food. So we want to try and get clients to move away from this junk, and then if they're just eating this fruit, then that's not going to really raise uric acid levels the way that high fructose corn syrup can. The next thing we want to think about is effects on blood sugar, and this used to be why I was really against fruit for a long time, and I used to tell a lot of clients, yeah, you don't really want to eat a lot of this fruit, it's just sugar, you're going to cause all this trouble. And if somebody is leaning on an insulin resistant side where they're not processing sugar and their blood sugar is already high most of the time, adding more fruit in there can really be problematic for them. Even though there's a lot more fructose that's processed a little bit different, it's still going to have the ability to raise blood sugar levels, so we need to understand the impact that's going to have. So that doesn't mean a client that's insulin resistant can't have any fruit. They just want to understand the impact that they're creating, and if they're trying to cycle their carbs and have part of the day that really allows insulin to come down, they might want to avoid fruits in that part of the day. But they also really need to understand the glycemic impact that can really vary from fruit to fruit. Some types of fruits are going to have a bigger sugar spike and going to create more of a problem for a person, especially with this insulin resistance, or if a client is dealing with hypoglycemic type issues, where they're having blood sugar crashes that are creating a lot of symptoms for them. If a client is having like a banana or a watermelon, that's going to have a bigger sugar spike that could create a bigger sugar crash than something like berries. So when we're helping clients figure out what's appropriate for them, the type of sugar spike that that particular fruit could create may help them figure out what's really going to optimize their situation. I also like to think about, whether the fruit is organic or not, and I view this as more important than I view organic with some other types of produce, just because when we're looking at fruit, we really need the minerals in that fruit to help us process the sugars in that fruit. So if someone's going to be eating fruit, I like them to make sure that they're getting the minerals so that those sugars and such are easier for them to process correctly. And don't view organic as it's going to have more minerals. In some cases it doesn't. We really need to look at, well, who's growing this produce? It really matters how are they taking care of the soil, and do the soils contain enough minerals that the minerals are actually going to go into the food that's growing there. But one thing to think about is that a plant needs minerals in there to protect itself from all these varmints and bugs and all these invaders that they deal with. And if they don't have enough minerals, they can't protect themselves. So if a crop is not using some type of spray to protect itself and pesticides and all these harmful things, then you have to kind of think, well, it probably has a little more minerals if it has the ability to protect itself long enough to create this fruit. So I kind of view that as an important thing, and I just view it as like organic is probably going to have more minerals than others, even though that's not always a slam dunk. Another thing you want to think about is like the toxins, and is this a fruit that has skin? And if it was sprayed, is it sprayed right onto the skin and now we're just eating that stuff like grapes or something like that? Or is it something you can peel the skin off? Now, these toxins will still get into the foods that they're sprayed on, but it's not as much as if it's sprayed just right onto the skin. And one thing to know is that I'm not talking about like a fruitarian diet here. A lot of people will say, oh, I just eat fruit and then I'm great and everything's fantastic, because we know that the body needs specific nutrients and cofactors and amino acids for the body to run correctly. And if it's not getting those from the foods that you're bringing in, it has the ability to break down your own tissues to access those amino acids and cofactors and B12 and all these things that the body really needs. So we're not fans of having someone just eat fruit. But we'll talk now a little bit about digestion to understand why someone might want to gravitate that way. So when we're looking at digestive symptoms that can either improve or be magnified with your clients, we need to understand malfunctions in the digestive process. It's really common for clients not to be making enough stomach acid. It's really common for clients' bile to become too thick and sticky, and then it's not flowing correctly. It's not helping us, emulsify or break down our dietary fats. And if there's not enough stomach acid, we can't break down protein, and then all these foods become like a toxic mess that just kind of rots and ferments and makes the person feel lousy. So then they go to where they're eating more fruit and they're like, oh wow, fruit really fixed my digestion. Well, it didn't really do anything to fix the malfunctions. It was just easier to break down. Fruit is very easy to break down. It breaks down much easier and much faster than like proteins or dietary fats. So a client may feel better when they consume more fruit and less protein and less fat, even though it didn't really fix anything. And one thing that's annoying is that your clients are going to hear like, oh, I can fix my constipation because they say to eat more fruit. And they think that's going to fix constipation because fruits contain more fibers. And if a client is just on the fence and they're just having a little bit of constipation, increasing fiber, and some of these fibers in fruits have the ability to bring more water to the digestive tract, which can help things move a little bit easier too. So that can give them a little bit of a boost. But if a person has significant digestive malfunctions or imbalances that have the ability to create constipation, then consuming more fruit is not going to help that, and in some cases it will make that much worse. So if you don't know how to help clients fix these digestive malfunctions or understand which malfunctions are going on, then my book Health Pro Results, chapters 3 and 4, kind of walk you through helping clients understand how to correct those issues. And the book is available on Amazon, but I'll put a link in the description below so you can get the whole thing totally for free, and then you can just jump to chapters 3 and 4 to understand those things. And some of those things can be very important because a lot of people will feel and function better when they remove like fruits and vegetables. Maybe they do like a carnivore diet type situation, because a lot of people have food sensitivities to some of these fibers. So if they have digestive malfunctions here that restrict their ability to really break their food down correctly, or maybe they have some type of overgrowth either in the stomach or the small intestine where we shouldn't have a lot of bacteria there, then they have the ability to create more permeability in that digestive tract. And then some of these undigested food particles and fibers and things get through those and then into the bloodstream, and then the body attacks it like it's an invader, and we create these sensitivity issues with issues like leaky gut type problems. So if someone has a problem like that and they remove these fibers that are creating trouble, then all of a sudden they feel and function a whole lot better. And they're like, oh man, a fruit's not good for your digestion, or fruit's not good for you. But it's really that they were just having a reaction to that specific food. Another thing to think about is that a lot of these fruits have what's called fermentable fibers, where a lot of the bacteria in here have the ability to ferment these fibers. And we as humans can't break down some of these fibers, but like our good gut flora here in our large intestine have the ability to kind of use that as a fuel, and they can break it down, and they can even access other nutrients that allow us to access those nutrients. So that can be great in the large intestine, but if there's a significant overgrowth either in the stomach or the small intestine, now you're feeding all these bad guys with these fermentable fibers, and as they ferment them, it can create a lot more gas and a lot more pressure, especially in these areas where you don't want a lot of gas and pressure. That has the ability to magnify like bloating or constipation or indigestion, or even those pressure and gases can push things back up and create acid reflux issues. So some people will have a significant reaction to fruit if they have some type of major overgrowth problem. So again, that just means we need to fix that problem. We need to reduce that overgrowth. They probably need to fix this low stomach acid issue, because a lot of times that's how they got in. They're supposed to die in an acid bath in the stomach when they come in on the food that we're eating, but a lot of clients are not making enough stomach acid for a wide variety of reasons. So we explain that in that book. I told you how to get for free and how to fix those things if you need to understand those. But the other side of that coin is that, yeah, some of those clients are really going to do great when they remove those, but that doesn't mean that that's always the best move for the long term. We use carnivore for some of our clients in specific situations for specific amounts of time. But over time, if you have good gut flora here in your large intestine and you're not providing them some type of fuel source like these fermentable fibers that show up in fruits and vegetables, then some types of bacteria have the ability to feed on our mucus lining that's supposed to protect and be that barrier that keeps this bad stuff from seeping through that intestinal tract into the bloodstream. So that has the ability to create some real trouble over time. So if a client has a situation where some of these fibers and sugars and things are really magnifying symptoms, removing fruit for a period of time while you're fixing things is beneficial. But when it comes to feeding this good gut flora in the long term, it can really be beneficial to include some of these things once a client qualifies. So I hope that helps you understand that the situation with fruit is really going to vary from client to client, and you'll have to help them figure out what's going to be best for them. And if for clients that have some type of overgrowth thing, they're probably going to have to avoid it while you're helping them fix that. And if you're not sure if a client has some type of overgrowth issue, there's ways that they can check at home now. So you can jump over right now to our bigger consumer channel for our video on how to check SIBO at home. I can't wait to hear about your results.